Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Good morning and welcome to my show Crime Uncovered, which takes place every Monday, every first Monday and every last Monday of every month. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sulka. That's spelled S-I-L-K-E, but pronounced Sulka with an A at the end. I do polygraph testing and I've written a book called Gotcha, which is about crime in South Africa. Today, I have a hero sitting in front of me, so I'm very, very excited about my show. I'm going to be asking questions to which I'm dying to know the answers. However, we are dedicating the show today to a gentleman by the name of Thembelani Mpini. He's one of our far too many fallen heroes in a country where government has lost all control of crime due to inefficiency, ineptness, and I would even say insufficiency. Thembelani was shot to death in a hail of bullets in an ambush whilst he was on duty. He leaves behind 3 young children and a wife. Thembelani, may God rest your soul. This show is for you today, and thank you for laying down your lives for us. David, welcome to the show. So awesome to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just have to describe David to you. He's tall. He's fairly dark, very handsome. Sorry, Natalie, that's his wife. He's sitting here in a bulletproof vest, and I don't know how many guns he's got. He's got, I think, handcuffs and Lord alone knows what else. I don't think that we in the studio have ever been safer in our lives. All right, so David, I'm going to ask you the very first question. Many people would consider you to be a hero because you're not afraid to chase criminals. And I know for a fact that you have chased many a criminal in your life. And today we're talking in particular about hijackings. And, you know, in South Africa, there's a saying, and I'm allowed to swear on the show, that people like you and policemen are bietjie befok. Brave, courageous, and a bit reckless are some of the words that come to mind. Do you crave that excitement?
Silka, I definitely do.
Can you move your chair over?
I don't see myself as a hero. Look, I'm just one of those guys that is happy to do my bits to fight crime in South Africa.
Right. And when, I know you've been shot at.
I've been shot at, and I've actually been shot this year.
Where were you shot? Where did that bullet hit you?
It was in my upper left arm.
Do you realize that you escaped death by inches at that time?
Afterwards, yes, I did.
When you were shot, did you panic or did you remain calm?
I remained calm. Obviously, I was focusing at the game on hand, so I only realized minutes afterwards that I was actually shot.
And were you assisted immediately by your colleagues?
Definitely.
And I want to ask you something because I know I've never been in a shootout. As you know, I do polygraph testing and I know about crime, but I'm not involved in your game where there's shootouts and I'm chasing criminals physically. When this is going down and you've got all your colleagues around you, the minute one of you is shot like you were on that night, does everything stop and everybody, the attention is focused on you to assist you?
I wouldn't say that. Look, everyone gets there. Everyone's trying to assist. But once again, we need to focus at the point.
Okay.
So there was a big game that night and a lot was going on. And obviously we have to, you are shot, you are injured, you need help, but you need to get the job done.
David, because I know when you shoot at hijackers, are you better trained than the hijackers? Because, I know there was another gentleman shot this weekend, Sean Cilliers. He was also a security company owner and he was shot dead. But I know that more hijackers and more criminals are shot dead by security companies and by police. Would you say that your training is better than what they are trained as?
I'd like to believe so. Obviously, in the shootout, we've seen what we're facing, and we can see that the guys are trained, the way they move, the way they're shooting, the way they hold their rifle, and that you can see they are definitely trained.
Do you think it's military training, or where does their training happen?
A lot of the playbacks on CCTV after an incident occurred, you can see that there's military training involved.
Okay.
But yeah, the guys are getting trained. There is places in South Africa, local places in locations. And
is that called an initiation school?
I would believe so, yes.
So they go there and they're actually trained to shoot.
That's correct.
Who trains them? What is the benefit for the people who train these hijackers to shoot?
Well, obviously they're getting the benefit of it.
They're getting a cut.
That's it. And the leaders of the gangs, I would call them gangs at this stage. They obviously benefiting on the hijackings and the vehicles and the valuables being taken and that. So they're the guys.
When you say leaders, are you referring to kingpins?
Not as much kingpins, but the leaders of the gangs. Obviously, the guys just underneath the kingpins.
Okay. Do the kingpins get their hands dirty?
I don't believe so, no.
I've gone straight off my questions. I know I had a list of questions and I've gone straight off there. But David, I've got to carry on with this line of questioning. The hijackers that you chase, who are they? Are they foreigners? Are they Zimbabweans, Malawians? Are they South Africans? Are they unemployed? Drugs, alcohol? What role does substance abuse play?
Most of the time, we're faced with two types of hijacking gangs.
Okay.
So we got the ones that are unemployed and are craving for their drug habits.
Niobe would be a biggie.
Yeah, so Napi, yeah. So of course these guys are the young guys, normally between the age of 18 and 25.
Okay.
They're going out for the valuables. So they'll hijack the people, take the vehicle with all the hijackings, dump the vehicle inside most of the time in Alexandria.
And that's where you go and find it.
That is correct, yeah. And then there is another gang that obviously the guys have got an order on those vehicles. So they'll hijack the vehicle, they'll take the valuables, but they'll give the vehicles to the kingpin or to the leaders in that, and then obviously those cars will get sold.
And normally over the border, am I correct?
That is correct, yes.
So what you're telling me, David, is that there's two types of gangs. There's the gangs that seems to be more opportunistic, where they would maybe see me driving down in my little Kia Picanto, realize she probably has a laptop, she probably has a phone, so we'll hijack this lady, take those things, and then they dump my vehicle.
That is correct.
And then at that point, I phone you and say, David, please go chase my car and Alex. And then you've got the other ones, those gangs. Because I know so much about crime and how these gangs work, I know that they plan and I know that they watch people. Would you say that a lot of the hijackings in South Africa, the victims are watched for a certain amount of time before that vehicle is hijacked?
Once again, it comes down to the two different types of hijackings.
Okay.
You mentioned the word opportunistic.
Yes.
That's definitely the case that we face with majority of the time. The guys sit at the robots, they would look for an easy target. And they take their chance.
And an easy target is somebody who's sitting on her phone who's not watching.
Definitely.
And an easy target is somebody who has something in her passenger seat or his passenger seat. That would be smash and grab, maybe not hijacking. But I do know that somebody who's sitting on their phone, that person looks distracted, easy just to go there with a gun and say, get out of your vehicle. Right. Thank you, David. All right, David, does it become easier over time to face this life-threatening danger? You know, most people, when they are shot at, they are traumatized for the rest of their lives. They have to go for trauma counseling. They don't sleep. They don't eat. There's hypervigilance. They go through an entire process of trauma. Do you find that you are traumatized? Let me ask you this first. Do you find that you are traumatized each and every time, or you're not traumatized?
Look, I'm used to it. It's happened so many times. I'd like to say it gets easier. But I do find myself thinking about it once I've knocked off shift and I'm at home and my brain starts working. And I think I'm just fortunate. It does play back, and I think, what if that happened? What if that happened?
And you had died. Is that your thoughts?
What's going to happen to my family? What could have happened if I did this wrong? So it does play back, and it doesn't always get easier.
Because I think maybe your brain desensitizes a little bit to the situation where you're being shot at, and it becomes almost, you, as you say, you become used to it, but you always have to be on point because you're playing with your own life as well as the life of your colleagues.
That's correct.
These hijackers, when you start chasing them in their vehicles, do you know what their mindset is? I mean, what do they do? Do they fight to the death, or are they cowards and get out of the vehicle and run?
Look, a lot of the times they jump and abandon the vehicle. But we have had stages that they shoot through their back windows at us. So it just depends. They obviously want to get rid of us. We're a threat to them. They just are scared. So they try to take us out. If that doesn't happen, they'll jump in and start running.
David, just going totally off my questions again. Are most of the guns that they use real guns, or are they toy guns?
Okay. Very good question. Yeah, a lot of the times, obviously, when we're getting shot at, it's real guns, it's real bullets flying past our heads. But we have arrested a lot of guys, and we found out that it's a plastic toy gun.
Yes, well, I believe the one time they tried to hijack me, I mean, I hit that gun right out of that bastard's hands, and I know it was a toy gun because the weight flew across the road, and he still asked me for my keys after that. David, I know that you're an absolute gentleman. Would you ever be able to shoot at a woman?
You know
Have
what?
you ever shot at a woman?
I have never, and I hope it never has.
Okay.
It never happens. But come, I tell you this: that crime doesn't have gender, a race, or age. So if my life or my colleague's life is in danger,
You'll shoot at a
what's
woman.
going to come to them.
Yes, because
definitely.
I know you're a gentleman, and I don't see you ever even. I've never even heard you swear in a woman's presence. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about the kingpins. We said just now, we touched on it, where we said the kingpins, they don't get their hands dirty. But then what is the benefit of the hijackers working for a kingpin? Couldn't they just do it themselves?
Look, I don't know if it's just that they high up and they feel that they're high up there. That's why they get the guys that do it for practically nothing. So they get a very small cut, the guys who actually go do the dangerous work and get possible getting captured in that.
Okay. Well, David, thank you very, very much. We are going to go to a quick break and we'll be back shortly.
Thank you.
Making a bold statement yet blending into the surrounding suburbs of Melville, 27 Boxes is a realization of edgy design and practical implementation. A radical departure from the shopping malls of our generation, yet not a return to the high streets of our youth. 27 Boxes showcases the best of a shopping centre set in a garden, surrounded by the bohemian suburb that is Melville. 27 Boxes, shop, play, eat. You're listening to brandlive.co.za, an industry first in the world of internet radio. Not only are we an internet radio station, we are an internet radio platform for your brand. So why not expose your brand to potentially thousands of listeners and improve your customer relationships and brand equity with podcasts and live broadcasts? Be sure to check brandlive.co.za for more information. brandlive.co.za, harnessing the power of internet radio. You're listening to brandlive.co.za.
And welcome back to my show, Crime Uncovered. We are talking to David of ZSS Security. He is a real man. That's all I can tell you. Looks like the camel ad today with guns and a bulletproof vest, etc., etc. He's one of the many heroes who lays down his life for us almost every day. Let me rephrase that, who risks his life for us almost every day. I know that David has chased a hijacker many a time. And I also know, David, that that ZSS offers the service of protecting high-value goods in transit. And I know that at times there's been shootouts there as well. I think when you are shooting at those people, it is a different scenario to the hijackers that you are shooting, because I think those people would fight to the death. Am I correct when I say that?
That is correct. I was also like just to add that we have partially moved away from that.
Because of
because
the
of
risk.
the risk and that
Yes.
involved. Yes, definitely.
And those hijackers, are they a different breed? Would they be high on drugs when they're hijacking?
I would say
A vehicle cash. We can't say cash in transit house, but we can say valuables in transit.
Yes. I wouldn't say it's only hijacking. I would call it more robbery, armed robbery.
Okay.
Obviously, they're getting the benefit of the cargo, which is hijacked. They hijack, but they only want the cargo. So once they've got that and they've moved that, yeah,
And if you shoot at them, do they shoot back at you?
definitely. These guys are higher caliber, not only using higher caliber weapons, but yeah,
High
very
caliber
ruthless.
robbers, right. Almost like cash in transit, because I know cash in transit robbers, they are at the top of the hierarchy in the game of criminality, because they are considered in the townships as very high up. Would you say that they almost have a following within the townships, these hijackers? Because, would some people fawn over them saying, oh, you're so badass and gangster? Would you say that's true or not true?
I would say it's true. I've seen that. Look, obviously, everyone minds their own business inside the locations.
Yes, because to be in
the
Impimpi,
townships.
yeah.
So they stay out of their way, but they do look up at these guys.
Which is a very scary thought, because, of course, my favorite thing about criminality is that, which I always talk about, is the lack of a strong father figure. And I know that most of these people would not have had a strong father figure. And again, would you say most of them are South Africans or most of them are foreigners?
Look, there's a lot of South Africans. A lot of the rest that we've made is foreigners.
Mainly Zimbabweans.
Zimbabwean and Mozambican, but the majority is Zimbabwean.
Yes, and I know this, because our prisons are filled with Zimbabweans. Because they come to South Africa, no papers, no anchorage at all to this country. How does your wife manage and cope with you doing this job? Because David, truly, I mean, whenever you say, I know on the WhatsApp group, you will often put out there, you're chasing a robber. And I think, no, even that night you were shot, I mean, I was there and I thought, I just wanted to say to you, don't go, I have a bad feeling.
Look, I think it's difficult for Natalie. A lot of times when I go out in the middle of the night, I'll come back and she's wide awake waiting for me.
Yes.
And she can't go back to bed. Obviously, she tells me that she's worried. And so I can imagine it's difficult. Look, it's not going to change it. I love what I do and I'm going to proceed and I'm going to carry on with it.
And David, tell me about your training. Who did you train with?
I've been through various training academies. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. And it started on a pro-track anti-poaching course in Hoedspruit.
Okay, for the rhinos.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
And I think that's where I made my mind up and saw the direction I want to go into.
And your training is absolutely rigorous.
Definitely.
And your armed guards in your company, do they also go continuous training for shooting, etc., etc.?
Look, there is regulations 21. It's an annual shoot that the guys have to do. We do take them to the range every now and then. We actually, at this stage, as we speak now, we've got a veteran training our guys at our offices. A guy who comes from Austria. He's been in Cold Wars, Civil Wars. He's a real soldier. And obviously we've got these guys in because we want to be on top of our game.
I think ZS is on top of their game. How are you trained to stay calm? I think I would fall apart if I was ever in a shootout. I mean, I would lie on the ground and not move for 10 hours. They'd have to put a drip on me to get me off the ground.
Look, I'm fortunate. I think it's in you. I don't think you can. You do get trained to handle a situation differently in that, but I think it has to be in you to focus at that point.
I want to ask you almost one last question. When I phone the cops to come and assist me, nothing happens. When ZSS phones the cops to come for assistance, straight away there's assistance. Is this because the security companies, paramedics and the cops, you all know each other and you all support each other?
That is correct. You know what? We've got a lot of WhatsApp groups. It's taken off. I think I've got about 80 on my phone at the moment. And it's all different type of entities, security companies, SAPs, paramedics. And I think we just got a very good working relationship with one another.
And I know there's always that immediate bond because even the paramedics, they also are working on the other side of the law, one could say, because they so often have to help criminals. I know obviously there's a scene, the victims will be assisted first and then the criminals. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. I was at a shootout. I got there after the shootout, thankfully, but the criminal was seen to last. Firstly, they dealt with the victims, and that was their first priority. And then the criminal, and they did manage to save his life. He was going to die, but they did manage to save his life. David, I think that's it. Thank you so much for being on the show. And you are from ZSS Security, and you are in Calvin, in Limbro Park. Are you moving to Buccleuch?
We got a 10K radius from Limbro Park, so definitely Buccleuch is in our focus line. We do Lombardy East as well. But like I say, 10 kilometers from Limbro Park. That's our
well,
focus
I can
line.
vouch for ZSS people because I know since ZSS has come into Limbro, there's been no more hijackings, no more armed robberies. They do a fantastic job. I know they've got secrets in, I don't know, rooting out and ferreting out criminals, but we are very, very safe, and I'm sure Lombardy East feels the same way. David, many thanks for being on the show. Many thanks again for being one of our heroes. I know you just, I can see him cringing when I say that word. And once again, this show was dedicated to Thembelani. Thembelani, may God rest your soul, and condolences to your family. Thank you, and please don't forget to join us on the last Monday of next month, where I will have an ex-criminal who served time in prison on the show. We will be digging into his childhood, and it'll all be about lack of a strong father figure, plus some other questions. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your day.